Hello, I'm live again. It's been a week. I'm a minute late. Oops. I'll wait for some people to join. So I'm going live today again with Go Campaign. Sorry, my hair is a literal disaster right now. It's fine. I'm going live with Go Campaign again. Here we go. Hi. Okay, we're gonna get them on here with Tamara Horton. I hope I'm saying her name right. Who is the executive director and founder of Studio Samuel. So we're going to talk to her and just ask her questions, hopefully fundraise, get some cool info. Okay, I am, once again, horrible at the internet. I'm trying to... Hi!
Hey, Abby, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming. I'm so excited. It's great to meet you. Meet you over the internet. Yeah. I feel like that's how we're all doing it these days. It's crazy. So I'm just excited to talk and hopefully, get some donations in this chat. And I have questions for you, of course. And I know that you've been with Go Campaign for, is it 5 years now?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And so you founded Studio Samuel to create opportunities for girls in Ethiopia, correct?
Yes, I adopted my husband and I adopted our son from Ethiopia, and in the process of that, I wanted to, immerse myself in the community and gather as many stories as I could for him. And it was through that process that I continued to hear the stories of the girls born into extreme poverty, and it was lack of education that was it was just very challenging in creating unsafe options for them. And before I actually get started, I want to first share, which I usually do, that if you ever get the chance to travel to Ethiopia, I highly recommend it. Like, the stories I share today are specific to our communities and where we work. Our work is needed, and these are communities where people are born into extreme poverty. This does not represent all of Ethiopia. So Ethiopia is a very beautiful place with amazing people, and so I just want to share that before I talk about everything about
that you've experienced. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, I feel like we do sometimes get ideas from kind of the, from certain stories from people of how, certain places might be. But that's a very good point. I'm sure it's not the entire country.
Correct.
Yeah. So you adopted continue. I'm so interested in this.
Sorry, I have a delay on my end, and I'm sorry if it...
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, so we adopted our son from Ethiopia, and it was such a beautiful experience. But in the process, like I said, I wanted to really immerse myself, and I befriended a young girl who had been trafficked by her parents. And it was through that the seed for Studio Samuel was planted, because I wanted to learn more. And her parents weren't bad people for doing that. And that's what took me a long time to really understand. And it was because they were lacking safe options. She was lacking safe options. Her brother was in school, but she wasn't. And that was the thread. And I wanted to create something that was, a teach a woman to fish model. Once you're educated, people cannot take that away from you. I wanted to, offer a platform where girls had access to life skills, employable skills, and their education. So that's how it started. And the goal was to reach one girl, like this young girl I befriended. And to date, we've reached over 2,500 girls. And in that, we've only lost one girl to trafficking. And much of that wide reach has to do with Go Campaign's belief in us and their continued support and their community. So it's been really incredible.
So have you found, is there still a lag?
Slightly, it's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you found that, well, two questions, and maybe for also everyone that maybe doesn't know on here, are girls lacking clearly education opportunities in Ethiopia? Is that for a majority, or is it just the impoverished girls or girls that are born into poverty? What gives them, or what gives the boys the opportunity and not the girls? What is that?
It's a really great question. From our experience and my personal experience, it comes down to a financial and economic decision by the parents, or if a girl they don't always live with their parents, it could be a caregiver, a legal guardian, and it becomes economic. So girls are more at risk of trafficking and child marriage and child labor. And again, that's an economic exchange. And what we did, the first way that Go became involved is that we started with a computer lab that was going to be core to our training. And Go supported the computer lab. And that was for the first initial flagship program we started, which is after school and weekend for girls 9 to 18 years old. And the Go campaign supported that. And then what happened, the girls are just incredible who are in our program, and they're hungry for this. And they were doing so well in the computer lab that it wasn't just coding. They were using the computer lab to study for the national exams, to make sure they got into the next grade, and for general computer literacy. So they used it for many, many areas. And this caught the eye of the local government. And because of the success of the computer lab, the government certified our computer lab and then also the sewing lab as a college. And so then we were able to reach 18 to 24-year-old girls who, for whatever reason, were unable to attend higher level education. And higher level could be 10th grade. It could be, vocational training. And Go supported the college, the launch of that. They saw that the proof of concept was there when the girls had access to the right resources. And as we continued working, another area of need that came up was, we learned another reason girls were staying home from school is because when their caregivers, again, legal guardians, if they were either ill or unable to work, they would keep their girl home from school. Again, going back to your question, they wouldn't keep the boys home from school. Boys usually had more access to education because when they would land a job, they would probably make more than a girl.
So they weren't as much of a priority.
Right.
There are other things that girls could be, that they could capitalize off of from girls, as opposed to just, okay, interesting.
Yeah. Right. And then with this other group, we realized that it was likely a need that we were seeing develop for a reason for us to scale into the homes. And so we created a microloan program, and Go stood beside us with this as well. And so with the microloan program, we were able to offer empowerment through employable skills to the caregivers. And so if they stayed at work, then the girls would stay in school. So through this, we have reached 18-year-old girls, 18 to 24, and now 24 and older.
Wow.
So they've been crucial.
So you found also you mentioned trafficking. Have you seen a lot of that there? Have you seen that that's a big issue, or something that you run into a lot with young women?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's because it becomes someone's option. That's what makes it a problem, because if it's someone's option and there's a need for it, there will be people who supply it and they're making money from it. And then there becomes a way to do it. It's not always like a kidnapping situation or somebody's coerced into it. Unfortunately, it becomes a plan.
Right. Yeah, I remember doing a lot of research on that. Side note, but I actually just did a movie where a woman had been sex trafficked through childhood. And it's a very interesting, I don't want to say industry, but it's a very interesting world because it's not always what you think of when you think of trafficking. It's not the, kidnapped, which it can be, but a lot of the times it is just what, people are used to. It's what your mom did. It's what your grandmother did. It's what, and that was a very eye-opening, I guess, experience, and just finding out that information was very eye-opening for me. So that's interesting. Are there shelters over there for these girls, or does your program also act as almost as a shelter, as something that helps these young girls and young women find a new life, or what exactly goes on over there in that aspect?
I'm not familiar with any shelters, mainly because if the infrastructure isn't there, like after a shelter, there's not really the next step of where a woman would go. So our center is more of a safe space. It has become a safe space. That wasn't the intention. The intention is to be the training center. But through that, we've become a safe space for the girls. And we've seen that more than ever during COVID, because people were isolated and they wanted to come back.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask, is how has COVID impacted kind of what you're doing over there, and how has it impacted these girls and women?
We've been really, our community has been impacted significantly, I would say, from the economic standpoint. We've had a few cases of infection with our staff, but as far as the infection, that hasn't been the main impact that we've seen. It's been economic, and violence has spiked. Abuse, domestic abuse, gender violence, and also the isolation with the girls, because our training center in Studio Istanbul has become such a space for them. It's really the only space where they socialize. In school, it's very structured. We're an after school and weekend program. So in their school, it's very structured. At home, it's not as social as we have, because many of the girls have a lot of work to do when they get home to maintain the home. And that's standard. So when they come to our training center, that's their outlet. And during COVID, we had girls coming to our training center when we were closed, and our guards had to turn them away and tell them, we have to be closed for safety. This is right on the onset of COVID. And because they were turned away, they then were going to our staff members' homes and asking, can you open it? And when do we get to come back? And so what we did out of that is a lot of things that we have, we operate on a small scale. So many things unfold organically, and we started teaching by a phone method. So many of our girls don't have computers in their homes, or a radio or a TV. So we were teaching them by flip phone. And with a flip phone, 4 people can be on without increasing everyone's bill. So our staff, each staff member would be assigned to a group of girls. Each girl was assigned to a certain staff member. So that was a line of communication, if there was violence or a need in the home, and also to be able to connect. At least we could connect 3 girls at a time with a staff member. And so they were really excited about that.
Wow. And so they would just learn from the phone.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
I know.
Huh. Are they still doing that? Is that still what is going on? Or have you found that it's like kind of started to get a little better over there?
They're back at the center now. We were
okay.
we were able to reopen when the schools reopened. So they still have to stay 2 meters apart, and 6 feet, and masks and whatnot. But yeah, they're back at the center.
Okay. And then are you in Ethiopia, or are you doing it from the States and kind of overseeing everything?
I'm in New York. We have the true local hero for us is Halawi. He's in Ethiopia, but I think Wi-Fi is not as reliable for this. He's our country director, and then we have deputy director. Her name is Marin, and they run everything from the ground. And they live in the same community. Yeah.
Okay. So how has Go Campaign's, I guess, work and I guess, how has the Go Campaign helped you and impacted your program? I mean, what have they done that you couldn't have done without them? You know, I guess all of it. What you see? I'm like,
they are they're a big part of Studio Samwell. We're so fortunate to have them. But specifically with COVID, I think, and we have a from the very beginning when we launched, we made it very clear that we work alongside our community, not over them. And that's something that, you know, Go Campaign just knows. They know who they work with. They know the local hero. They know the community, and I respect them for that. They always work alongside the community, and we're so fortunate to have them because there was something critical that we had two critical situations arise, and Go knew immediately what the greatest needs were. So they, like I said, they supported our microloan program. And during COVID, we had, pre-COVID, our caregivers in the microloan program had a 90% repayment rate on their loan. Extremely successful. And because these are informal businesses, they were hit really hard during COVID. And they were unable to repay their loans, and they had to close their businesses. And we had caregivers who were going into the commercial sex trade, women who've not all of them, some of them, who've never done this before. It was simply to put food on the table. And I called Go Campaign to discuss this because I think a report was due around that time, and Halawi and I were speaking, our country director. And we always share the impact, and impact is usually positive, but there can be negative impact too. Like, you know, a dangerous situation, a challenging situation. This is what our caregivers were facing. And Go wants to know that. And I spoke to them about it, and we had a really long conversation, but also in that they asked, you know, how are you guys? And I told them separately, our rent, we were being affected by our rent. Our staff was, our caregivers were, because there was a situation where there was political unrest happening, there was COVID. It was a very difficult time, and there wasn't oversight on everything happening, and many landlords were increasing rents to double, triple, like whatever they wanted to, and our lease was up. Go knows the local way of working, and they knew that when we would renew our lease, we would have to pay 1 year in advance. That's policy. That was impossible for us, and our back was up against the wall, and that's not something foundations usually cover. You know, that's a really difficult thing to cover. And they contacted me a day or two later, and they said that they were helping us. And because of that, we were able to relocate to an affordable space. And it goes back to them coming through in a critical time. They also help supply basic needs, which we normally don't do. They help the caregivers put, you know, proper food on the table during a time that they didn't know what they were going to do.
So they listen to the actual needs of the organization or of the people there. You know, it's like, it's not, and that's also what I was so intrigued by when I decided to, you know, come on with them and do this. I love that. I love that it's not this. I love how personal it is, and I love how they kind of are they sit in the back seat and they let you be the driver, and they ask you, what do you need? You know, and it's like, I love it because it's almost like the ultimate act of humility in a way.
Yeah.
You know, because it's also, and when you do that, you actually do accomplish more, I feel like, and it's not necessarily, it's not gonna, you're not gonna be at the front and center of it, but it's still, you're still helping, you know, and you're helping as much as possible. So that's very interesting. And you said that people were experiencing violence from what again? They were experiencing like the caregivers were in danger. How did that, or something, you said something along those lines, but is that something that's common?
Gender violence is not uncommon.
Yeah.
But I think what we've seen globally, like if there's ever been a time where we really see how small the world is, I think COVID has done that. And I think domestic violence has spiked globally. And that's what we're seeing as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard that too. Just all around, pretty much, because everyone's just stuck in their home and can't get out. That's yeah. I mean, so what does inspire you? I know that you said that your son, you adopted your son from Ethiopia, and that's when you really started to get involved. But what exactly does, I mean, keep inspiring you? What makes this, something that is so close to your heart? And I mean, I'd love to hear certain stories or personal anecdotes or stories from some of the girls or success stories. Like whatever you feel like sharing, I'd love to hear. And I'm sure a lot of people on here would love to hear too. So we have 8 donations. This is great.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yay.
What inspires me, it's the girls. They're so much stronger than I think I ever could be. What they face, what they have overcome, and what they've done with the program. When our program is 2 years, so when they graduate and you see what they've done with a Teach a Woman to Fish model, that's inspiring when you see it in action. But the day to day, I have so many stories. I will share. I will share. I have a collective story. I think sums up the friendship and the forever bonds that our girls create. One thing our girls learn is to use their voice, and that their voice matters, and how to use it properly in the different situations. And we had a student who the other students found out she was being she was very close to being sexually abused in school in a pay for grades situation by her teacher. And our girls came together, and it took a long time, but they came together and they created a plan, and they spoke with her like, now's the time to do what we learn, and you need to use your voice, and you need to go to the director, and our director. And they did. And so they addressed this with the school officials. They addressed it with the district officials, like authorities in our community. It stopped. And so one of the times when I traveled after that, the girls met me at the front gate, and they were jumping up and down, and they were grabbing me like, did you hear what happened? Did you hear what we did? And they were so excited about what they did. And they made a problem stop that an adult had created, a man. And
by teaming together too, and having and supporting, and wow.
Right. And then I think a story from one of our students. She was in our first class of 25 girls, and she's incredible. I see her every time I travel. She's done so much. She was facing a child marriage situation. And like I said, going back to the beginning, the reason I wanted to start this is because the young girl I met who was trafficked, most girls in our program are one step away from a situation like that, either trafficking or child marriage or child labor. So that is addressed. And so this young woman was facing a child marriage situation very young. She left her home on her own, and she was set on becoming a doctor. And she went to, a lot of kids say that she had a plan in place to do this. And she ended up coming to the city and finding a safe space to live, even though she would still be in a child labor situation, because she had to work for the room and board, but it was guaranteed that she could go to school. And she did this through most of her school career. And she would be working until midnight, and little time to do her homework. When she came to our training center, she was a sponge. And there's a lot more to this, but today she's in a university studying laboratory sciences. And she did this all on her own. And like seeing where she would be today had she gone into a child marriage situation, that would have been a difficult situation to leave. And seeing where she is now, like that's really what inspires me.
Hmm. Wow. That's,
Yeah.
I love the story of the girls all, it's like a victory. It's like, and you know, and I can picture it in my head, and learning that they have a voice, and I mean, even I feel like as women in general, you know, it can be hard to learn to have a voice in certain situations and to grow into that. And I mean, that's amazing. That's a very beautiful story.
Yeah, they're incredible girls. They're incredible.
And so how do they end up at the shelter, or at Studio Samuel? Like, do they just hear about it, or do they have to qualify? Like, how do they hear about it? How do they, is it everyone has a different story of how they came to find it, or what is the majority? How do the majority find this?
That's a really good question. The local government offices have access to the different NGOs that work in the area. So if there is, and they know who the people are who live in their community. So if they know they have a girl, there's a home with a girl, you know, that fits the demographic of our program, they'll let the family know. There's a program like this, you might want to enroll and get on the list. We currently have a waiting list of over 1,600 girls. And we also have, this is kind of funny. We also have, each class has 100 girls. Our current class is 140 because 40 girls just started coming.
They're like, screw the waiting list. I'm just walking through the doors. Yeah. They're like, talk about female empowerment. Don't tell me no.
Right? But how do we turn them away?
Yeah.
That's what we're teaching.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so they'll be graduating with this current class. They heard about it. And then during the last session, we had a woman who was really strong in her community, and she went door to door to say, I know about, you know, someone who lives in this house and they need to be in this program. So she created her own list. So it's really grassroots. I mean, we're growing a bit beyond the grassroots, I guess, as far as like what a structured NGO looks like. But as far as the way we work, it's always from within the community. And we're, you know, we can't have everybody show up, but we're not going to turn away 40 girls.
Right. Interesting. Are you guys planning on ever expanding? Is that kind of a dream of yours, or yeah, I guess expanding so that those 1,600 girls can end up, you know, not having to be on the wait list? Or like, is that something that you hope for in the future? Or do you feel like a smaller environment is better?
I do hope to expand. It would have to be, you know, definitely quality over quantity. So we want to do it the right way, but we do have those conversations on what does the program look like in 3 to 5 years. I know our flagship training center, our flagship program will always be where it is now, in the capital city area where the need is, because we went from a small group to now working across 3 city districts out of 10. And it's a wide net, and the need is there. So, but going beyond that, the first step would be the rural areas, which we've started doing through a menstrual kit program. And then beyond that, I think our program could work really well and adapt culturally beyond Ethiopia, beyond Africa.
Interesting. Well, that's, how do you think that, I mean, how do, you know, because right now I've been dying to just get involved in things that I'm passionate about. And especially, I mean, of course, in person would be the dream, you know, be one-on-one, feel the, you know, feel people's energies and give, you know, give and take and hug and talk. And that's my, I feel like my favorite thing about, I don't know, these types of conversations too, and going into actually like physically going and, you know, talking, but, or helping, physically helping.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, right now we're in a very strange time. What do you suggest for someone like myself or other people that are wanting to get involved but don't know how? What do you suggest we do to, I mean, is it donate? Is it raise awareness? Is there anything else we can do to help these girls? Or, I mean, what have you seen during this time? Like, what are you guys in need of?
I think for anyone wanting to get involved, the first thing would be you can follow us on Instagram. And I know a lot of people say that, but since this is the first introduction to your network, at Studio Samwell on Instagram, just to learn more about our program. So when we actually can be in person again, which I also can't wait for, maybe we can do this together sometime.
Yeah.
Now's the time to learn about the program and see other initiatives we've done. As far as getting involved, I mean, Go has such a strong reputation. They know the area. And I would say fundraise and, you know, support Go campaign, because a couple of the initiatives that have come up during COVID are not typical initiatives we've done. They've been because of lockdown or, you know, something that came up unexpected. So right now, I think the financial support is key, and that goes far. It can be $5 that will go far.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we're on the other side of this, there are many other ways to get involved, and we'll be back to the normal programming. And that's going to be getting girls enrolled in our summer camp and getting them the next class enrolled in our program. But right now, I think it's so key to just follow the community's lead and seeing what is really needed to keep everybody safe and moving forward. And that all goes back to Go.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are at 12 donations. I just saw that. $171.94.
Thank
Woo!
you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, this is amazing. Well, I mean, I really appreciate you talking to me and to, you know, all of us, and, you know, informing us about what you do and what's going on over there. I mean, did you ever expect to be doing this with your life, or as a, you know, as a little girl, like, would you have, like, if someone had told you this is what you're doing? I mean, that it must be kind of a crazy feeling to know that you had this idea and it worked out, and it's really truly helping so many lives, you know?
Yeah, no, I never imagined this. I was born in Pennsylvania in a small town. There was one red light, and it's awesome. And then I came to New York, and I've been in the fashion and music industry. Like, charity and, you know, a school for girls in Ethiopia was never on my radar. I've supported charities. I never imagined, even when I launched Studio Semla, I didn't know that this is what was going to happen. And now, like, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It's like, yeah, there's so many challenges, but again, the girls and what they do with the program, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. And you see so much of, I mean, I remember when I was in, which I don't know if it's the same thing, you know, I don't know, but I was in, when I was in South Africa, I've actually visited a shelter for women, for survivors of sex trafficking. And I sat with one of the girls, and we talked and had the most wonderful conversation. And I heard her story, and I heard her, you know, her backstory too, and how it really happens, and the kind of what you were saying. It's not this dramatic sometimes, but yeah, like, I'm not going to group everyone together, but, you know, it's not this, it's a kind of a slow process, or it's a slow fade. It's a slow entry, and then you wake up one day and I mean, I know this isn't like all of your girls, but this is, I mean, kind of how I can relate to kind of seeing an impact on a type of place that helps women. But hearing her story was just, and hearing how she's grown from it and what she's learned and what she's planning on doing with her life too is just, I mean, it's miraculous to see. It's the most also humbling experience, because you realize, you know, like, she was just a badass. Like, she was just so tough and so intelligent and so just loving. And that for me was a very just big experience in my life. I know I'll remember for the rest of my life. But so it's always lovely to hear, you know, your experience as well with at least, you know, helping women learn that they have, you know, they have a voice. There are opportunities, and giving those opportunities, you know, that wouldn't have been there otherwise. I mean, it's a very beautiful, beautiful thing. I hope to one day, hopefully when all of this is done, be able to go over there. And, you know, I don't know if do you ever have people go in person or have volunteers or anything?
We've not had, well, that's not true. There's actually a Go volunteer who is now a big supporter, and he has been there. It's usually our close team. We have discussed bringing individuals. We don't do large groups, but on a small scale, we would probably consider it when it works, when it's the right, like you were sharing your story in South Africa with the woman you met, like having that and understanding. We go into it, this is a part of our with our board and our volunteers and our close team that we work with, it's always about the girls. It's not about us.
Right.
So volunteer, it's just like what you explained. So a volunteer coming to our center, it must be about the girls, not the outside, and, you know, all about the community. So it's as long as it's done the right way, and it's sensitive to the situation. Yeah.
And I so respect that. That is also the other thing too. I mean, when I went into that shelter, I mean, it took a lot for the woman who ran the shelter to even let me go. Like, we were explaining, you know, we kind of explained the situation, whatever, but she was, I mean, extremely protective of her girls, and very, you know, adamant that she sat in the room the entire time and watched over the conversation and watched over and made the girls feel comfortable and safe. And I think that too is very important when, I mean, what you're saying, it needs to be about the girls that are being, you know, that are being helped, and not about the people that show up that are like, I'm here to volunteer, let me take an Instagram picture, you know, like that. Yeah. I feel like that is so often with a lot of I don't know, I've just seen it a lot growing up and stuff, which always, I mean, strikes a nerve with me a bit. But I love that that's what you just said, and that that's something that you are, you know, that you prioritize, because again, it can become more about the, I don't know if that's even what you were saying, but that's what I'm saying. It can become more about the
image. Said very well.
Yeah, rather than the actual cause, you know.
Yeah. But no, I would love to talk more. And when things lift, yes, you are welcome at the center.
Well, thank you. Yes, I mean, I'm like inviting myself. I'm like, okay, great. I'll show up with my bags. Moving in. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we are at 13 donations, $185.64 going to the girls.
Awesome. That's awesome. And to break that down, that is 18 girls staying in school through the menstrual program that we have.
That's amazing.
Oh, I'm having a major delay. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, you're a little bit delayed, blurry. Okay, yeah, you're fine. well, maybe that's okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? You'd like to tell anyone? I mean, that we didn't touch on, that I didn't ask you about? I mean, feel free to say whatever.
I think I don't know. I think you've asked some really great questions. I think we've covered a lot. I think if anyone was interested in getting involved, again, if you follow the socials, and you'll learn more about the program. And I think if there was ever a time, I was speaking to someone this morning about this, if there was ever a time, like I said before, of like the world being so small, it's now. So there might be situations that, people in the US facing financial struggle, maybe they've not faced that before. This is what our community faces regularly. Or, a spike in another area of violence. Or like, I live in New York. I've had a few incidents on the subway. It's different right now, but I know that's going to pass. It doesn't always pass for someone who doesn't have the same resources. So I think we just need to be nice. We need to be aware. And I think that'll go a long way right now.
Open our hearts and live with empathy, and just be cognizant of others and their struggles and stories. I feel like amazing. Well, as you were talking, we're now at 14 donations, $197.45.
That's almost 20 girls. It's great.
That's almost 20 girls. Wow. Amazing. Yay. Okay, well then what I will do is, when I post this, I will tag Studio Samuel, and that's the Instagram, right?
Yep.
Okay. And I will tag that, and then hopefully, everyone or whoever wants to can go follow your journey and the girls' journeys, and hopefully get the word out more and get more. 15 donations, $209.26.
Awesome.
Woo!
Great.
I just went down one. Hold on. Okay. Someone might have taken their. Oh, wait, no. Yep. 15 donations. Okay. All right. Jeez. Hold on. I don't know why this is. Okay, there. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You.
Yeah. And I'm excited for the girls and for your journey, and I hope we keep in touch. Excuse me. But I hope we keep in touch. And I mean, what you're doing over there is just amazing, and I'm very inspired by you and all of the stories and everything, all of your amazing words in your heart. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much, Abby, for taking the time to, bring our story to your platform and your followers and fans. And that means a lot, because you have a bigger voice than we do. That gets the message out about the girls. And I really appreciate that. So thank you for empowering the girls.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm just happy to be able to, hopefully help in any way I can, because I'm repeating myself now, but I genuinely love what you're doing over there. So, and it's a beautiful thing when people help other people in life, and I think also these donations, I mean, we just helped 20 girls. So amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Well,
and
thank you so much.
I wish you nothing but the best.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Go.
Bye. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.